Hi, and welcome back to another podcast with Mr. Hagan. On this podcast, we're going to talk more about the concept of benefits and costs. And on the last podcast, we said that people make decisions by looking at benefits and the costs, and they ask themselves questions like, do the benefits of a behavior outweigh the costs, or do the costs of the behavior outweigh the benefits, and then act accordingly. But at the end of that podcast, I said there was something that matters more than just do the benefits outweigh the costs and the costs outweigh the benefits. What matters more is, in terms of analysis, is what happens if there's a change in the benefits or a change in the costs. And what I really mean when I say that, when I say the change in the benefits or the change in the costs, what I mean by that is this. Was there an increase in the benefits? Was there a decrease in the benefits? Was there an increase in the cost? Was there a decrease in the cost? So what I mean by change is, did the benefits or the cost increase or decrease for some behavior? So let's start by talking about what our rules are, what we believe to be true, and that is anytime that you get an increase in benefits for some behavior, anytime the benefits of some behavior goes up, and or there is a decrease in the cost of the behavior, then people will do it more. Whatever the behavior is, they will do it more. Anytime if the benefits of some behavior goes up, people will do that behavior more. If the cost of some behavior goes down, people will do more of that behavior. So that's kind of our first rule of behavior. Our second rule of behavior says that if the costs go up for whatever reason, or there's a decrease in the benefits of some behavior, then people will, in this case, do it less. They will reduce the amount that they engage in some behavior. So anytime the cost of some behavior goes up, people will do less of it. Anytime the benefits of some behavior goes down, people will do less of the behavior. And let's just remember this. Whenever we say cost, we mean opportunity cost. That's always what we mean. That's from a previous podcast. Whenever we say cost, we always mean opportunity cost. Okay, and this all assumes, all this analysis right here, this all assumes that we are utility maximizers. It assumes that we are utility maximizers. That is, we are trying to maximize our happiness. And that's why these are our rules of behavior, because we are trying to maximize our utility. So this assumption at the beginning was very, very important. Now, let's look at some examples of this. So one example, let's say that the government increases the child tax credit. Okay, so a child tax credit, what that does is it reduces the amount of taxes that you owe to the government in the case of having a child. All right, so if the government increases the child tax credit, that means you get a bigger tax credit if you have a child. That means you pay less taxes to the government if you have a child. Well, how do people respond to that? How do people respond to the increase in the child tax credit? Well, the way we want to think about it is we have to put it into one of these. Does this change the benefits or the costs of having children? And how does it change the benefits or costs? Do they increase or decrease? So what I would argue here is if the government increases the child tax credit, this increases the benefits of having children. It increases the benefits of having children. So there were already some other benefits to having children. Just the enjoyment of having the child, raising the child, loving him, loving her, whatever. All those kind of things. Those benefits already existed. But now you're getting this new additional benefit. That's a change in the benefits. That's an increase in the benefits of having children. And what's our rule say? If you increase the benefits of any behavior, people will do more of it. So if you increase the benefits of having children, then people will do it more. They will, in this case, have more children. Now, you might want to say, okay, Hagen, wait a minute. Nah, I've been with you up to here, but I'm not sure that I'm buying this. People are having more children because the government increases the child tax credit. So, okay, that's a fair question to ask. That's a fair challenge to the belief system. So what we would have to do in economics is we would say this. We would say if we believe that increasing the benefits of having children causes people to have more children, and that's like my hypothesis, and you say, no, Hagen, I don't believe that's true, well, that we'd have to go collect data. And we'd have to analyze the data and say, does the evidence support my statement? Okay, and I'd be very confident that the evidence would. That if you everything else held equal, if you raise the benefits of having children, give a child tax credit, then people will have more children. Maybe you wouldn't, but as long as somebody somewhere does, some people do. Maybe they were right on the fence. They weren't sure if they were going to have a third child or not. Okay, and then, oh, well, we get this extra tax credit, so all right, that'll help us afford having the kid. This is the way people would talk about it. Well, yeah, because, they might be saying this. Look, they might think about it this way. Well, okay, what are the benefits of having the kid? Well, we can, we'll love the child. We will, have lots of happy emotions attached to the child, those kind of things, right? So those are all benefits. And then what are the costs of having the child? Well, one of the parents might say, well, I'd love to have a third kid, but boy, the cost of college these days, I don't know if we can afford it, right? So there's benefits and there's costs. And remember from our previous discussion, we would say if the benefits outweigh the costs, then you would go ahead and have another child. If the costs outweigh the benefits, then you wouldn't. So here's some family that's right on the line. They can't quite decide whether or not to have more children, but then the government increases the size of the tax credit. They say, oh, that's going to help us afford college, so all right. And what they're really saying in economics terms is now the benefits outweigh the costs because of this additional benefit of the child tax credit. All right? So we believe that these rules always hold. If you raise the benefits of having more children, people will have more children. Okay? That's the way economists think about it. Let's try another one of these. So let's say this one. Let's say a school district or a college increases the punishment for cheating on exams. Okay? They increase the punishment for cheating on exams. So again, the way I think about it is I go back up here to my model and I say, okay, does this sound like a benefit or a cost? Okay, benefit or cost? And I say this sounds like a cost. All right? So the behavior was cheating on exams. And, some students, we'd like to think none of them cheat, but maybe some of them do. And they try to get away with cheating. And now the school says, maybe it used to be if you got caught cheating on the exam, then maybe you get an F on that exam. Maybe that's what the rule used to be. Okay? And now they're going to say that the new rule is if you get caught cheating on an exam, then the first time you do it, you flunk the class, not just the assignment. And the second time you do it, you're expelled from the school. So they have raised the cost of this behavior, cheating on the exam. Now, what's our prediction? If you, as an economist, I just look at my rules. If you raise the cost of any behavior, raise the cost, people will do it less. So if you increase the cost of cheating, then my prediction is students will do it less. There will be less cheating. Now, I'm not saying that means that we should raise the cost of cheating. I'm not making any statement about that, whatever. I'm just trying to make the cause and effect statement of if we raise the cost of cheating, people will cheat. Did I just... Yeah, I said that right. If you raise the cost of cheating, people will cheat less. There will be less cheating. Okay, so my point is, these two statements, these two behaviors don't seem to be related at all. But they are related in the sense that they are both just examples of benefits and costs altering our behaviors. That's how economists think about the world. Okay, how do benefits and costs alter our behavior? Now, finally, the last thing that we want to think about here on this podcast is who owns something. Private property, as we talked about on a previous podcast, who owns something, who has private property rights over something, determines who gets the benefits and who incurs the costs. Sorry, there should be a space right there. So who has private property rights over something determines who gets the benefits and who pays the costs. And so that's really, really important because it's going to determine your behavior based on whether or not you indeed receive the benefits or suffer the costs of whatever the behavior is. So let's just look at some examples of this. So how about littering? Right? So if people are going to litter, well, very rarely do they don't litter, let's say, in their own yard. Okay? They don't litter in their own yard. They don't do that. Why not? Why did I not litter in their own yard? Well, because they would suffer if they litter in their own yard, right? Throw their empty soda cans in their own yard, then they would incur the cost themselves. Now why would they want to do that if they're utility maximizing? Okay? So instead, what do? Well, they throw their litter in someone else's yard. Or maybe the typical thing is they throw it in the street. Okay? Things like this. Now, that's just littering, but think about pollution. Companies that engage in pollution, you think of that as littering on a grand scale. Like they don't dump their waste into their own, water areas or private pools or whatever. They dump it into oceans. They dump it into rivers where nobody has private property. Okay? So the private property determines who's getting the benefits or who's incurring the costs of littering. Think about it another way. Something simple, they build a house. So if person A builds a house, who gets the benefits of that? Well, the benefits of that is it's going to go to this person who built the house. They're the ones, because if they have private property rights over that house, they're going to get the benefits of building that house. They're going to get to live in it. They're going to, get to enjoy it, all that kind of stuff. So who owns something determines who's going to get the benefits and who's going to incur the costs. And it's a pretty simple, straightforward idea, but it is important to keep in mind. And it is something that will come up in the future. All right, changes in the benefits and costs. That's one of the primary ideas in economics, this idea of incentives matter. When we change the benefits and the costs, it's going to change people's behavior. And on the next podcast, we'll go through a very clear example of how this works, of how people make decisions by looking at the benefits and the costs. This has been another podcast with Mr. Hagan. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you on the next podcast.